All right, good morning. Good morning. What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Monday, October 27th. Hopefully, everybody's having a good start to their week. Lot to get into today. Really, really good weekend for the Lakers. A lot of good stuff to talk about. Another game coming up tonight. I feel like I was just on, what is it, 8 a.m. right now, 8:01. I feel like I was on, let me think here, about 8.5 hours ago. Yeah, probably was on 8.5 hours ago. And I'll probably be on again late tonight and then back on tomorrow morning as well. We got some work to do. We got some work to do. Thank you for being a part of the show. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Feel free to put as many comments into the chat as you would like. One of my favorite things to do when I'm doing the show is read people's comments and see how those obviously help with the show and help with the flow of the show. So I'm going to give everyone a quick rundown of what we got going on for today. We do have a guest coming up today as well, so just a heads up on that. So anytime we have a guest, obviously takes a little bit of time from us from interacting and everything else. So whatever, I'll go. I do have a call later today, but it's not until 9:30. So we got some time here. We're not worried about it. If we go over 9 a.m., I'm not too concerned about that. All right, let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got going on for the show this morning. Thank you very much for being here. If you were here last night, or you were here Friday night, or you were here Saturday when Sammy was doing his little preview video, thank you for interacting with the channel. Really appreciate you guys being a part of it. Great start to the season, the new season. Great views, everything, all that stuff. So thank you very much for being a part of it. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys don't mind. Lakers sweep the weekend. Phenomenal weekend. Really, really good weekend. And based off how the Lakers started the year on Tuesday night against the Golden State Warriors, based on Luka Doncic being out, based on LeBron missing, what do we say, till about November 15th, something along those lines. Just a really, really good start to the season. And there's a lot to hit on from what happened on Friday, what happened on Sunday. I'll probably pay more attention to what happened last night. But yes, they did win 2 games and just a nice overall weekend for the Lake Show. They win 1 at home and they win 1 on the road. Austin Reaves start to the season. Austin Reaves start to the season. Is it possible for the conversation to change on Austin Reaves? Do you think we could potentially get to the point where when we're talking about Austin Reaves, we're saying that, yeah, guys, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, Austin Reaves doesn't go anywhere. Yeah, what's he owed? $35 million a year? Sounds good. Go sign him that 35 and get the hell out of his way. Is that possible? Can we get to a point of the season where everything churns and those that have talked about Austin Reaves, just their conversation changes? We'll talk a little bit about that. I did mention I have a guest. Keith Smith does a really good job. Does the front office show with Trevor Lane on YouTube. That show's killing it. That show also now is part of the NBA channel is picking up some of these podcasts. That's one of the channels that got picked up. Also does Spot Track. So he's going to come join the show. We'll talk some stuff around the Lakers, and then we'll also get into the NBA. And I think I have a new infatuation with Victor Wembanyama. I think I'm late to the game on this one. But I want to talk about Wemby, some of the other teams around the NBA, Dallas's start. So we'll get into all of that. Lakers host the Blazers tonight. Kind of interesting. This doesn't happen too often in the NBA anymore. Lakers playing 3 games in 4 nights. So Lakers got another game tonight. I mean, what would be highly, highly disappointing is if the Lakers go from doing what they accomplished over these last couple of days and then lose at home against Portland. Now, granted, the Lakers are still going to be without Luka. It'll be second of a back-to-back. We'll talk about that a little bit. Do the weekend recap, or I got some NBA news. Do the weekend recap and the World Series, and then we'll go from there. All right, let's take a quick look at a couple of the comments here before we get started. Chris Navarro, love Big Keith. All right, well, I'll tell you this. I love when you guys love some of the guests that I bring on. I do love that because, obviously I try to bring on guests that I think make sense and that I think you guys are going to enjoy as well. So good to hear that you guys are excited to get Keith on. Good morning, Slee. Good morning to you. Let's get a couple more in here. Calling in the same refs from last night. We could use those refs. I think some people are saying that what are some people saying? And Lakers did take a tremendous amount of free throws last night, but they were also aggressive. They were also getting to the basket. All right, let's see what we got here. Quote, Ocean Breeze, manager has more impact on your mental health than your therapist or your doctor. Having a good boss can literally change your life. That's an interesting one right there. I agree with that. I do agree with that. That's a good observation there. Not observation, but it's a good quote. And I definitely agree with the philosophy there. All right, Keith knows his stuff. Great stuff. All right. Okay, let's get the show started because we do have a guest coming on. I want to be a little bit more prompt of how I want to get things started. Okay, let's just get kind of straight to what we saw over these last couple of days. There are some wild individual performances so far from Laker players. Okay, we know the first two games what we saw. We saw Luka Doncic put up against the Warriors 43, 12, and 9. Then against Minnesota, he had 49, 11, and 8. And then last night, we watched Austin Reaves drop 51, 11, and 9. Guys, we watch the NBA. You know, anybody that's on this channel probably watches a ton of NBA, enjoys seeing individual performances. I'm sure, I don't know how you guys, but this is how I am. I'm somebody who has a league pass. I'm somebody that will tune in randomly to a Rockets Pistons game, like was going on. What was that? I think on Saturday. I'm like, all right, let me watch a little bit of this. I love watching the league. And there's certain performances out there, certain players out there. It's like, well, if this guy's playing, this is must-watch TV. I don't know how many teams have had individual performances like the Lakers have had so far this year. You had Luka with a 43, 12, and 9, a 49, 11, and 8, and then Austin Reaves last night with 51, 11, and 9. Now, the most important thing is your squad winning, or is this just, are these just individuals doing whatever they're doing? Lakers certainly won the last two games. So, as we all kind of sit here, to see some of these individual performances has been pretty special. It really has. Like, in my opinion, it's been special to kind of watch the beginning of the season, primarily because of what I'm talking about. It's like you got these just really special performances so far. I've seen Luka do it. Luka, it's kind of it's a video game. I spent a lot of time on Friday night talking about after Lakers beat Minnesota when I'm doing the post-game show. Spent a lot of time talking about how special this guy is, how he's going to be in that MVP conversation all year long, how get ready to see another superstar with the Lakers, and every compliment that I can possibly give, I threw it towards Luka Doncic. Yesterday, the Lakers find out, we all find out a few hours before the game starts that Luka's going to be out at least a week. But they feel pretty good that he'll come back. I think next Sunday, Lakers have Atlanta. It's a home game. They feel pretty good about that. So it's like, all right, well, that came out of nowhere. How are the Lakers going to win? What are they going to have to do? They're playing Sacramento, so let's not pretend like they're playing the best team in the league or, a team that has a reputation of locking down on the defensive side, any of that stuff. All right, hopefully they're in the game by the time the fourth quarter starts. They were in the game. They eventually win the game. And I walk away from that game saying to myself, is Austin Reaves, it's early in the season. I don't want to, obviously I don't want to overhype things or anything like that. But he's probably had as good of a start to the NBA season, the 2025-2026 season, as anybody in the league. I don't know what his stats are through 3 games, and I'll try to look at here real quick as we get started. But I'll tell you what he did last night, and I'll tell you why his game is kind of wildly different. So he had 26, 9, and 5 in the first game, 25, 11, and 7 in the second game, and then yesterday the 51, 11, and 9. Listen, I know Austin Reaves can go out there and get a bucket. I know he can. Definitely see that Austin Reaves he's got a very unique style to his game. He can get to the basket. He can draw fouls. He can hit from the perimeter. Austin Reaves got everything in his toolbox. Everything. I mean, from an offensive perspective, Reaves is as good as it gets in the NBA, creating for himself, drawing fouls. He does all these little things that they're fun to watch. Now he's got to do it on the Lakers with Luka and LeBron, so it's different. But let me tell you the one thing that I will say that to me has been most impressive about his game so far this year. Guys, he's dishing the ball. There are areas of his game where there's such a natural distributor, facilitator that I think can take his game to another level. He's averaging 10 assists so far on the season. I think the number to be exact is 9.7. But add the 9 assists yesterday that he had, the previous games as well, 11 against Timberwolves, 9 again against the Warriors. He's been incredible facilitating. So here's the topic that I want to have. And here's the question that I want to ask everybody here. Austin Reaves, since the Lakers were eliminated against Minnesota, the conversation has been, very simply put, hey, you know what? You just can't pay the guy $35 million. Hey, Al, he just doesn't work with Luka Doncic. Hey, look what he did in the postseason against Minnesota. You know, this guy is just not a piece that you can have on a championship caliber team. Are we sure that as the season progresses, that our conversation and our tune about Austin Reaves isn't going to change? And I know you can't make that assumption through 3 games. And I didn't think in the first game against the Warriors, other than the assists, I thought, a lot of his buckets came towards the end of the game. So I didn't think they were all that impactful. I thought he was great against Minnesota, and I thought it was one of the best performances I've seen in a while, and what he did yesterday against Sacramento with 51, 11, and 9. There's only a few players that have been able to do that in Lakers franchise history. LeBron's done it once. Anthony Davis has done it once. I think Elgin Baylor had 15 or 16 times that he's done it. Is our tune about Austin Reaves going to change as the season progresses? Is his value and his stock just going to go up and up? And guys, he's going to have bad games. I'm not trying to tell anybody that he's not going to eventually struggle, that he's not going to have games where we say, oh my gosh, he was super inefficient. What's he doing out there? He struggled from the field. Of course, those are going to happen. But he also has games where he can go out there and drop 51 in an NBA game and almost get a triple-double. I mean, last night's performance was not that much different. If Jokic had those numbers, or Giannis had those numbers, or Luka had those numbers, or Shea had those numbers, you'd be like, oh my gosh, that's one of the most brilliant nights that you can possibly watch in the NBA, is look what this player did. Look what that superstar did. My question on the Austin Reaves front is, as the season progresses, is the tune of that conversation going to start changing to where it's like, yeah, it's a no-brainer, re-sign the guy, figure everything else out later? Because I do feel like a lot of the offseason was not about Austin Reaves long-term. A lot of the offseason was about what can you get for Austin Reaves. I'll throw out some of the names that we were talking about. Remember, we were talking about Jaden McDaniels, RJ Barrett. I'm just going off stuff that either people reported on or there were mock trades out there, whatever the case is. I think we're getting to the point very, very early in the conversation, or very, very early in the season, where it might just be a really poor front office move to not let this season play out and kind of see what Austin Reaves' value continues to become as the season progresses. And we might get to a point where we're saying to ourselves, yeah, that'd be idiotic to move Austin Reaves. We'll see what happens. Obviously, a lot of basketball left to be played. We got a long way to go in the season, but seeing what he's had kind of moments in his career, obviously every season he's got better and better. The maybe bad taste in people's mouth is going to be how he performed in the postseason, in the playoffs, on a very flawed roster. We know the Lakers roster was flawed, but last night was one of the best performances I've seen in a while from a non-superstar player. And I guess maybe that's my point. I guess if Luka Doncic does it, we say, well, yeah, it's Luka Doncic. But if Austin Reaves does it, that cannot be in the same conversation. So I'll look forward to looking at some of your comments here in a little bit in regards to that. But first off, I got to welcome in our guest. Very excited to have on Keith Smith, like I mentioned, does some phenomenal work covering the NBA. Keith, good morning, brother. Thank you for joining the show.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
All right, last time I think you and I talked, we were right in the heart of, I want to say, the postseason, and it was in the thick of it. And as we sit here today, I know there's a lot of different topics that we can get to. First off, congratulations on you and Trevor Lane with the front office show. Great work, obviously, on Spot Track. But yeah, I was excited to see what you guys are doing. And obviously, the hard work you guys are putting in is really paying off.
I appreciate that so much. Yeah, we're beyond excited for the opportunity to partner with the league and get our show out there. And one of our favorite things about this whole thing is they came to us and said, don't change anything. Just do the show you do. And that's always, whenever you're working with the entity itself, that's always a question. Are you going to ask us to do things different? Do we not have to talk about salaries? Can we be critical? We do all these things. And they were like, nope, just do your show. So we're really excited.
Smart from them to do that. I want to get your opinion on this, and I'd love to get your thoughts. I love getting somebody's opinion that is so you're so in depth about the entire league, and maybe you're not, emotionally watching games like many Laker fans do. But I like those opinions because I think those opinions probably are going to be a little bit more objective. We watched Austin Reaves last night go for 51, 11, and 9. Now, I'm not trying to tell you that the Sacramento Kings are the 90s, late 80s Pistons defensively. But, there's a lot of chatter around Austin Reaves, and I'm not sure what's going to happen over the next year. So I'll tell you what, you keep having performances like that, then we know what's going to happen. He's going to stay as a Laker long term. What did you make of his individual start to the season? He's averaging 10 assists a game, which I think is more impressive to me than what he's doing offensively from a scoring perspective. And just your kind of overall thoughts on Austin Reaves. Would love to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, I think he's had a terrific start to the season, and it's one thing to be asked to step up and be the second guy for Luka, to be the right hand man to Luka while LeBron is out. But then when Luka goes down, to say, all right, and I know JJ Redick said, hey, we don't ask anybody to play anybody else's role or whatever, but you're still feeling like, all right, I need to be instead of just being a star in my role, I need to be superstar in my role to give ourselves a chance here. And I thought that was great last night. That was one of those, all right, I got you guys. Like, hop on my back. I'm going to take you here. We're going to get this win. And once he realized, but I think about maybe seconds after tip off, that the Kings didn't have a prayer of guarding him without fouling, he just went to work. And that was really great. I love that he got 11 rebounds. He got good on the boards too, because that's an underrated thing you miss with Luka. Luka is a very good rebounder, especially for someone who plays primarily the guard position. So that is important. You had to make up that as well as the points, but also all the assists. And I think that is it's probably very exciting for Austin Reaves and his reps and maybe some other teams. I don't know how super exciting it is for the Lakers because his price tag is only going to keep going up. But I think in general, this is the stuff that should have you fired up because it's, all right, we knew he could score, and we knew he could score when he was the third guy that the defense was paying attention to. But scoring, primary playmaking, all those things are really good. Is he a good defender? No, not really. But a lot of guys aren't good defenders that are primary offensive options or even secondary offensive options. And if you can give more than you give back, then you're going to be in pretty good shape. So I really excited about his start to the year.
Let me, and I know this is to be 3 games in and already kind of dissecting certain things about the offseason and everything else. I'm just curious, what does the league think of Austin Reaves? Because obviously Laker fans have got an opportunity to see him undrafted, comes through the system, see what he's obviously doing on a night in, night out basis. Every single year he's adding elements to his game. He's been phenomenal. And I think any Laker fans that have hesitation on Austin Reaves, it's more because Luka's already in the backcourt. And the question is more, hey, can they use a better two-way player? Is there other areas when you're filling out a championship roster rather than having some redundancy? What's the league think of Austin Reaves? And if you just kind of had to predict of this offseason when it eventually does come, what is the appetite for teams out there saying, oh my God, we'd love to have Austin Reaves, and we we know what the market is. And if it's 35 million plus, whatever the case is, then we're okay with that.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's split opinions on him, like it's 50-50. It's now more like 75-25. We'll start with the doubters. The doubters are still, they need to see more of like what he did last night. Obviously, it doesn't need to be 50 points, but just more of, all right, he can be the guy. Because if you're one of these teams that has cap space, or you're going to make a major sign and trade for Austin Reaves, and you're going to hand him the keys to your offense, you have to believe, all right, he can drive things. He's not just part of the machine. He can be the machine that makes us go. And that's there's less of those than there ever has been before, but there are still some that wonder that, because everybody has the defensive questions. And I talked to one team that said he'd be an incredible fit for us, but do we have the right guys around him? Like, and how long would it take to get the right guys around him? And would we even be able to get the right guys around him? Those are the kind of questions that are out there. And then those that are fans of his, you have, it kind of ranges. You have some who are fans that are, boy, we really like him, but is he more than a third or fourth best guy on a championship level team? And I think, again, those questions are being answered. Then I think you have those that are like, yeah, we think he could be the second or third guy on a championship level team. Again, put the right kind of defensive players around him. And that's where the question, like you said, for the Lakers comes in. All right, it's easy to say that when it's one guy that you need to put the right defenders around. When you're talking two guys who, I'm not suggesting Austin Reaves is Luka Doncic, so I don't want to get crazy here, but there's somewhat overlapping skill sets. They're really good creators for themselves, really good creators for others. They're guys who are better on the ball than off the ball. Dude, is that too much overlap knowing the other challenges you would have? Then the last part of your question, the monetary value. Yeah, there are some that are, he's a $30 million a year player. There's others that are, he's 35. And I've talked to a couple teams that are like, hey, if you really want him, and the only way you're getting him is to go all the way to a max, then we go all the way to the max, and that's where we'll go. It's important to know, because he's only in his sixth year, he's only eligible for the 25% of the cap max, that's important, because that's a lower number than it would be at the 30% max. Most guys who've been in the league for as long as he has or guys his age, I should say, because he came in as an older player. They're already tripping into that second level max tier. He's still at the first level max tier. And that's still where teams are like, all right, you could get away with that, even if it doesn't work out, A plus, as long as you return like a B or B plus value on that's not the end of the world. We can get there. So I mean, obviously, if he keeps doing what he did last night, he's going to have max offers coming his way this summer. But even a tick below that, we're going to see him, well over $30 million a year, probably pushing towards 40.
Lakers in a, he said this a number of different times. He wants to be a Laker. I mean, he really, I think that part is, it's very, very obvious. Clearly, he's a fan of the franchise, of the city, and the fan base, and everything that you put on there. Lakers would you say they're in a difficult spot because of their predicament and situation with Austin Reaves, or is it an ideal situation? I think I asked that question based off of what you mentioned about, is there some similarities between what Luka can do and what Austin Reaves can do? Both of those guys, it's not like they're going to complement each other defensively. Are they you think in a good spot, a good position, or is this kind of lead to more question marks than potential answers?
I think they're in a good position. I think you just can't mess around too much. Like, that's the big thing. If you are in a spot as the Lakers and you're saying, yeah, we got to feel like we win this deal, right? We're getting surplus value. Somebody may come in and say, all right, we're going to go. This is not last time when he was a free agent. You had the restricted rights. You could match anything, you control all of it. This is the situation where for this time around, he's a much more known quantity, right? Where we're a couple years deeper into his career now. So now teams are like, all right, we kind of, even if we're still questionable on what the exact upside is, we have a pretty good idea what his floor is. And teams are going to set a mark at that. And then teams are going to be aggressive, because we're going to have somewhere between 6 to 10 teams with meaningful cap space this offseason. And those teams are going to be in a position to, some of them may even be, well, we can overpay a little bit because you have to overpay to get guys to change teams unless the guy's absolutely miserable. And to your point, there's no sense that's there. If anything, it's completely the other way. I can tell you, he was in the room for one of our sessions at Sports Business Classroom this year in Las Vegas Summer League, where we're kind of helping people learn the cap and learning about being an agent and all those things. And he said, like, hey, I love the Lakers. I'm paraphrasing here a little, but him and his rep, we love the Lakers, love being a Laker, but they can't extend them for enough. The contract number is just too low, so it doesn't make sense for us to extend. Now we're going to wait. We're going to wait until free agency when we can really, get kind of, not when I say max value, I don't mean necessarily a max contract, but we can maximize his value as a free agent that way. And that's the smart decision. I think the Lakers know that. And the big thing is, if you're the Lakers, you're going to be having these conversations regularly of like, hey, what are we thinking? Where are we at? That's how you hit and I'm not accusing anybody of tampering or doing anything they shouldn't do, because everybody does this, especially with their own free agents. But you're going to hit the ground running with, all right, we come out. That's why we get these. It used to be 12:01 a.m. Eastern. Now it's 6:01 p.m. Eastern when free agency opens. That's how you get these tweets that are player X and whoever. And it's important to note, teams can start negotiating with their own guy now the day after the NBA Finals. So Lakers are going to have a pretty good sense of where he's at. And let's just be realistic. Everyone knows he's going to be a free agent. They're going to have a pretty good sense of what else could be out there for him as well. And that's where, as long as you don't mess around, you should be fine with this. And I'm not too worried about, doing it. We look at every team right now has talked about, we need multiple creators on the floor, multiple ball handlers. More and more teams are picking up with full court pressure. Well, the way you beat that, you have multiple guys who can handle the ball, pass, multiple guys who can score themselves. Yeah, it's not an ideal defensive pairing with him and Luka Doncic, but you can make it work. And if worse comes to worse, you kind of lean and say, all right, well, some nights we're just going to have to outscore the other team. And if I'm starting there with other good players around them, I feel pretty good about that.
Keith, I know it's, we're not even 1 week into the season, so there's going to be overreaction, and there's going to be, I'm sure, fan bases saying, that's it, our team is done, and other fan bases that are saying, we're the team to beat. With that in mind.
Alan, that happens a day into the season. We don't need to be a weekend. Come on now.
Well, I wish you would have joined me right after Lakers lost to the Warriors, because it was it. That was it. There was, they were going to go 0-82, so you're right, that every
most people probably know I'm a Celtics guy because I grew up in the Boston area. Yep. I have Celtics fans in my mentions asking, like, who are the top guys in the draft this year? This team stinks. We'll be lucky to win 10 games. So I fully get it.
Well, listen, strategically for them, they'll be back in the mix. It's just this is kind of a little bit of an off year for them. But I guess the question that I'm curious about, as you look at the Lakers, and there's no way to kind of predict anything right now. But the one thing that is impressive up to this point is LeBron's not in the lineup yet. Hopefully he's back in the lineup. And until LeBron tells me that he's not LeBron, I'm going to just assume he's LeBron. Well, I don't have a reason not to. And I don't care that he's in his 23rd year in the NBA. Granted, this is the first time he's missed a season opener, and that might tell you something right there. Luka looks like he could very well have the best season of his career. And Luka's had some unbelievable years in his career. They made some of the moves that they made, and, maybe some of these guys get off to a slower start, but Ayton's got a little bit better with each game so far. Marcus Smart, I think, is showing his value. Vando is finally healthy. So there's some guys. Just your thoughts. What do you make of the Lakers in the Western Conference? And I don't know how much you can assess anything based off of a week, but what can you assess from what you've seen so far, and, some areas that you feel like you'd be optimistic about and some areas that you feel a little pessimistic about?
Yeah, so over on our show, NBA Front Office Show, when Trevor Lane and I did our preseason predictions, I had the Lakers 7th, but with a major caveat that from 3rd through 8th, I had them separated by like 4 or 5 games total. Like, just like last year. It's just a good week and you move up 2 spots, a bad week, you move down 2 spots in the standing. It's the seed is, I don't want to say it's irrelevant because it obviously does matter, but it just was, this is how jam-packed this group is behind Oklahoma City and Denver in this conference for me. So I'm not going to move off that just yet. I will say it is encouraging to get a win last night. You go into any game without Luka Doncic and LeBron James, and then a couple other guys were missing too, and you're probably like, all right, well, this is a loss. Just let's figure it out. You come away with a win. That's one where now when they lose a game, like I used to call these Tuesday nights in Orlando, which I can say because that's where I live now. But now I call them Tuesday nights in Charlotte because Orlando's gotten too good. You drop one of those games, we'll remember this game against the Kings that you won without, a lot of your guys. So it all evens out in the end. You're going to, I think it was Greg Popovich. At least I always attribute it to him. Says there's 8 games a year. No matter what you do, you can't lose. You're going to be awesome. You're going to win. There's 8 games a year where no matter what you do, you can't win. You're going to be terrible. Everything's decided on all the games in the middle. That's what ultimately decides your season. I think if whatever Luke is going through right now, the finger and the leg, assuming that is cleared up within a week or so, I'm sure he'll pick up some other bumps and bruises, just the nature of the way he plays. You're going to be fine. And then if you can get LeBron out there for, I'm going to say 50, 55 games total, you're going to be pretty good. I think they're going to be somewhere in the middle of the pack in the West. I don't have them near the top teams. And then as long as you can get to the playoffs with your guys, relatively healthy. And I always say relatively healthy because no one gets to the playoffs healthy. Even the teams that, all right, guys aren't on the injury report, they're feeling something, whether it's a bump, a bruise, fatigue, whatever it is. So as long as you can get there relatively healthy, you've got a great chance because Luka can win a game or two by himself. LeBron can still win a game by himself. Heck, Austin Reaves might be able to win a game by himself at this point. And now all of a sudden you're in a series maybe you shouldn't even have been in. And then you have the good or bad shooting game one way or the other. And the next thing you know, you're moving on. And that's where I think you want to be. And that's before we get into, do they do anything on the trade market? Is there any kind of move that they make to really add to this team and plus it up? I still think they're extremely thin in the front court. I think that's a problem. When I say the front court, I mean in terms of true bigs. That part I'm a little worried about. I think perimeter defense, they could use one more perimeter defender. Those things are not easy to get, but sometimes you can figure those out and go get them. So those are the places. As far as strengths, I think you've got a minimum of 2 or 3 elite on-ball creators that are going to be on the court at any given time between Doncic, James, and Reaves. And that puts you in a really good spot. And then I think as long as you're getting enough from the other guys, Rui Hachimura's had a fairly nice start to the season. As long as he's knocking down shots, you're going to be in pretty good shape.
Keith, one more on the Laker front, and then I want to kind of jump around to the NBA here real quick. What do you make of LeBron? And I guess the bigger question is, does it feel like the offseason that he had, some of the different statements that come out, Rich Paul, that stuff, do you think all that stuff is behind them now? That now it's just about, hey, let's focus on the season. Do you think it will those conversations will reappear? The only reason why I asked the question is because, I think obviously it comes with the territory with LeBron. He's delivered every year. He's been unbelievable. Top 2, top 3 all time. At this stage of his career, there's also a lot of times where there are conversations that have nothing to do with basketball, or at least what's going on the court. How do you think he approaches the rest of the season? And I'm just curious if it's just a matter of time till some of those conversations come back up, or those are buried.
Yeah, I think that was setting the stage for we're all in for this year, but after this year we'll see. And I think LeBron and his camp have always been very top of mind on we're going to kind of control the narrative before it even starts. And I think that narrative is we're just going to be in a place where, hey, if we leave at the end of the year, whether it's retirement or for another team, we gave you a full year's heads up. And if he plays and plays well and re-signs, okay, then we're probably having this conversation again a year from now. I think we are very much year to year with LeBron at this point. I think his own comments are making that very clear of, I've never heard him in the last 2 years talk as much about we're closer to than we are to anything else and all the things that he has said. Like, he's setting the stage for this may be where it is, but I think it's just going to be, hey, can I still be who LeBron. I think that's important to him. He's not going to hang on just being a role player who's playing 15 minutes a night. He's too good. He knows his standing in the history of the game. He's just not going to do that. So if he can still be LeBron and the Lakers still want him and the Lakers are still competitive, I think maybe this continues. Personally, I don't think he wants to move. His whole family's there. Everything in life is there. I don't think he wants to move, but I think he is also, hey, if I still feel like I can play and play well and be the difference for a team, I'll go. And to your point, until I see that he's not, I'm going to assume, all right, yeah, he's a different version of LeBron, but he's still really, really good. Some of the conversation around him has gotten silly where it's like, this guy was a legitimate All-NBA guy last year. This was not all right, here's an honorary thing. Thanks for your years of service to the NBA. Like, legitimate, was one of the better players in the NBA last season. And that's, until he's not, all right, then then we'll have a different conversation. But yeah, I just think that's what it is. I think we're going to control the narrative before the narrative even fully starts.
What's as we kind of wind down on our conversation, what stood out to you around the NBA so far? Has there been some individual players? Has there been maybe some individual teams? Just a little bit of a surprise. We're so early, but is there anything that kind of sticks out to you?
Yeah, this rookie class is really good. Like, there's a lot of guys who can play in this rookie group, and that's really exciting because there was a lot of discussion going in that it's top 3, top 4 heavy, and then after that, it kind of dips and drops off. And I think we're in a place where, man, we're really good. Somebody just said it in your chat, Wemby, right? I mean, obviously, I call him the destroyer of worlds because that's what he's here to do. And like good luck with that guy. That sequence yesterday, if anybody didn't see it, go find it. He blocks 2 shots at the rim, then gets the ball in transition and pulls it from the logo for a 3. Like, that's just, I said this after his monster opening night. I don't know how to process him because it just, none of this really makes sense.
And we've
never seen anything like it. I think on the negative side, I think we are seeing there's been a lot of free throws. I think going into yesterday, I promise this isn't me picking on Austin Reaves thing. In the league in general, I think the average was 55 or 56 free throw attempts per game. That's 12 more than last season. That's too much. We got to go. It's always high early in the year, but nobody wants to watch the free throw shooting competitions that sometimes the games come down to. And I think the players have gotten so good at figuring out how to get fouled that we got to be cautious of this. And I'd like to see them, some of the points of emphasis on, you're not really trying to score, you're just looking for a foul. Maybe we dig some of those back up as we go. Pace is up. Like, teams are really, these games are flying up and down. I've seen some people they're just looking at the scores and saying no one's playing any defense. And that's not the case. They're playing defense. It's just, we're playing faster than we've ever played. The 7 seconds or less Suns would be the slowest team in the league now by far. That just gives you a sense of where that's at. And never mind the teams like I grew up on in the 80s with the Lakers and Celtics and their fast breaking teams. Like, they'd be, basically a walk the ball up offense now with the way the game is played. So I think it's been a great start to the season. Obviously, the gambling stuff is not good. We don't want that. Let's hopefully, swift action is taken when appropriate there, if appropriate. But yeah, I mean, I think overall the basketball on the floor has been pretty good. There's been a lot of good games every night, been really enjoyable. And I'm excited. I think the league's in good hands with young talent coming in. I think we're in great shape moving forward.
Keith, great stuff, brother. I appreciate your insight. Like I mentioned, I always enjoy your opinion. Get a chance to get somebody that is as objective as it's going to be when we're talking Lakers basketball. So it's great to get your insight. So thank you very much for hopping on the show, and looking forward to doing it again soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. That's Keith Smith right there. All right. Good stuff from Keith. Yeah, that's it's funny. And the couple of times I've had him, I think second or third time, but his just insight around the NBA, I love it. And, I think the conversation about Austin Reaves was a great conversation with him. What are teams looking at? What do they value him at? Are the Lakers, is this, don't overthink this? But a lot of good stuff there, and his stuff about Wemby, I have it in my notes here for NBA news. We'll get into Wemby. Don't worry. We'll eventually hit on Victor Wembanyama. We got plenty of time to do that. Okay, I want to spend some time looking at your comments. So it's going to be tough for me to go all the way back. If you got thoughts, comments on any of the stuff that we hit on, please throw it in the chat right now. And then I can kind of keep moving as well. Lakers, or I got a few other topics that I want to hit on. And we can go from there. Real quick before I do so, a shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Shout out to somebody that is very loyal to the channel, somebody that, has plenty of different areas that he can be taking his business and promoting what he does on a day-to-day basis, but he does it here. I want to give you guys an example of what Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm, what they do in the courtroom. Just over a month ago, an auto insurance company made a $1.25 million offer to one of Brad's clients whose case was going to trial in Palm Springs. But after Brad Wallace selected the jury and delivered his opening statement, the insurance company decided to pay Brad's full $2 million demand before the first witness was called to the stand. That's how you execute. That's how you win. Insurance companies know if Brad Wallace and the Wallace team is involved, they're going to try to find a way to figure it out. They know that they will do the absolute best for their clients. If you are a family member is dealing with a serious injury, a wrongful death case, please do me a favor. Reach out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. They can help you. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. And they can help anybody in the state of California. All right, let's keep things moving here. Let's get a couple comments in. Let's see where we are. Victor says Kings roster severely flawed. Kings are not a good basketball team. They are not a good basketball team. I mean, if we have to just kind of focus on the Sacramento Kings, that is not a good basketball team. Did you guys watch Domantas Sabonis yesterday? I mean, the guy doesn't even get looks. They got 9 guards out there. Nobody feeding him the ball. This makes no sense to me. Ayton looked phenomenal against him. I got something about the role players here in just a second, but Ayton looked phenomenal against him. Like I said, I'll go back to it. They have a really, really, really poor construction of a team. All right, John, Reaves haters, okay. Member for 8 months. Thank you, John. Thank you for being a member. Slee, at this point, one player needs to score at least 40 to win by 10. Is this sustainable? It doesn't seem like it until Bron gets back. I would tell you this. I would say that the fact that the Lakers got guys that can drop 40 plus in a game is special in itself. You can have superstars giving you 30 plus a night or in the high 20s. But yeah, I think there is something about you need obviously a number of different players that are contributing, and it can't just be on the shoulders of one player or anything along those lines. So a fair point, but I think at the same time, I don't think you got to look at what the Lakers have done so far and say, hey, this is a negative. After game 1, I would have told you, hey, there's a problem here because nobody else is contributing. But since game 1, game 2, and game 3, other role players are stepping up. I have it in here that in part of my topics for today, the benefit to seeing role players early. Let me tell you kind of what I mean by that. Ideally, the Lakers, they have LeBron healthy. They have Luka healthy. That's the ideal situation. They got no injuries. Jackson Hayes is there. Adu Thero is there. Everybody's there. The Lakers have no injuries and everybody's healthy. That's ideal. But let's just stay with the stars here for a second. LeBron not being out on the floor, I think gave a little bit of, all right, Luka, go drive this thing. The keys are in your hands. Everybody knows this franchise is yours. Go do your thing. But the Lakers are not going to be able to win games, hypothetically, if Luka Doncic is out there dropping 49 or 46 or 50 or whatever he's given you if everybody else isn't contributing. Okay. Now Luka doesn't play and he's out for a week. Let's say he's going to miss 4 games. He's already missed 1. Here's what the benefit can be without Luka out there. You already don't have LeBron. Is now all of a sudden DeAndre Ayton's probably getting the most looks this week than he's going to get all year. Again, it's just, there's only so many guys that you can really depend on. Can that do something for DeAndre Ayton's confidence? Can that do something for DeAndre Ayton's season where he's walking away from a game? I think last night, what he had 22 and 14, 22 and 15, whatever his numbers were. That seems like that could be very, very beneficial to DeAndre Ayton early on. Listen, you're not going to win anything, nothing sustainable without Luka and without LeBron if the ultimate goal is to go as deep as you possibly can in the postseason. But for little stints of the regular season, the Ayton piece is a great example. Can Rui Hachimura put himself in a position over these? Listen, I've learned from watching Rui Hachimura every single night. If Rui doesn't have a big night tonight or has one of those 9-3 nights, it wouldn't be a shocker because we've seen it before. It'd be disappointing, but it wouldn't be a shocker. But are there other role players that can kind of have an impact right now that just will not have that opportunity once the stars are back? I do think there's a little bit of benefit to this. It's not ideal, but it's the position that the Lakers are in. Ayton last night was incredible. Ayton's not getting 22 and 15 if LeBron and Luka are out there. Rui Hachimura the last couple of days, 10 shots, 12 shots, 13 shots, getting looks, very efficient. Probably he's not getting that many looks if Luka and LeBron are out there. So you got to kind of take advantage of the opportunity, and I think some of these guys have done that. And I think to go back to this, this comment here, and EM, I appreciate you throwing out the super. Do I think it's sustainable to have one player drop 40 or 50 a night? Probably not. But the bigger question is, how many role players are stepping up night in and night out? I think that's the bigger question. I think that's the question that tells us the story of, are the Lakers, are they doing something or are they not? But the individual performances have been incredible. And I don't know how many teams have players that could put up the individual performances that the Lakers have had these last couple of days. All right, let's take a look at some more of these comments here. Lakers, by the way, got the Blazers tonight. Wouldn't it be really, really, really disappointing if the Lakers lost to the Portland Trailblazers tonight, a team that is in complete shambles, whose head coach was caught in some poker games in different parts of the city dealing with the 5 New York mafia families? I mean, is that not a recipe to grab a quick win? If there's ever a time to go get the Portland Trailblazers, is it not now? The thing that would really be disappointing tonight is some of this momentum that they're building, some of the momentum that they have been building, that all of a sudden comes to a screeching halt because of the Portland Trailblazers. And again, and I know people are saying here that the Blazers aren't a bad team. I think it's kind of less to do with the opponent. It's more to do with what you were able to do last night. You did that on the road, got some momentum here. Portland just got blown out by the Clippers. By no means am I saying it's going to be an easy night. But if you're going to have a shot to potentially go, let's call it 2-2 over these 4 games without Luka Doncic, I think tonight would be the night that you grab another W, because you're going at Minnesota and at Memphis on Wednesday and Friday, so it's certainly going to be a lot tougher. All right, let's get some more in here. Honestly, if Rui and Ayton can put up 10 to 15 points each night, I think we're in really good shape. Yeah, I think DeAndre Ayton is in a different position than Rui Hachimura. I think Ayton's got to be giving you 15 points a night. 15 and 8, 15 and 9, some 14 and 10, somewhere in that range. That's where he's got to be. That's where he should be. I mean, for him and his own career and what he wants to accomplish after this season and the type of contract that he's probably looking for, that's what he needs. The Rui, I think Rui's just going to be a little bit of a roller coaster. I think that kind of comes with the territory. And sometimes I tell you, my bigger frustration with Rui Hachimura is Just the man can't grab any boards. I think Rui, let's look at Jake LaRavia, I think had 6 rebounds yesterday. Austin Reaves had 11 rebounds yesterday. And Rui had, I want to say, 2 or 3. And that's Rui on a night in, night out basis. All right, let's get some more comments here. Blazers, team on the rise. I like their core. You know what? I think it's more with the Blazers. It's not that they are, that they don't have talent. It's their entire franchise is being looked at now, not because they're the Portland Trailblazers, but because their head coach got arrested and allegedly is a part of some gambling scheme. That's what I'm referring to. There is no cohesiveness. There is no, franchise there that everyone's pulling the rope. And they just literally had their head coach who coached in game 1 of the regular season and then was arrested the next morning. So let's not pretend like the Portland Trailblazers are in a perfect spot. They're not. And I think that's the point that I'm referring to. Plus, they are young. All right. There's a couple other things I want to do here as we kind of start winding down as far as the show goes. Got a couple things around the NBA. And I want to hit on a few different things around the league. And you guys can feel free to, obviously continue to put in some comments there as we go. But got a couple things around the NBA. And I mentioned this here for a quick second, and I wanted to get back to it. Some stories around the NBA and everything else. So let me hit on a couple things around the NBA and then go from there. Cooper Flagg and the Dallas Mavericks finally got their first win yesterday. All right, the reason why this is a little bit interesting to me, and I'm just going to jump around the league here for a quick second. I got the weekend recap. I'll read some of your comments, and then we'll be back on tonight talking about the Lakers and the Blazers. This is interesting to me is because Dallas looked so bad in their first 2 games. They start the season out 0-2. The fire Nico chats are out there. Luka starts the season the way he did, dropping, unbelievable numbers. So I'm sure if fans over in Dallas are probably saying to themselves, oh my God, what the heck happened here? They finally got their first win, and ended up beating a Toronto Raptors team. They're at home. So they finally got their first W. But Cooper Flagg, youngest 20-point scorers in NBA history. Jermaine O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady, LeBron James, and then Cooper Flagg. 18 years, 309 days. So Cooper Flagg helps the Dallas Mavericks get their first win of the season. Kind of a little interesting how they started their season. The other one here I'm going to keep an eye on, which is going to be, you hope he's good, but I'm going to read this off to you because Lakers also got the Minnesota Timberwolves coming up in a couple of days. Alan Horton's going to join the show on Wednesday. He's the radio voice of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Been on the show a couple times. Anthony Edwards left with tightness in his right hamstring, and the team quickly announced he wouldn't return. Finch provided no update on his condition afterwards. So we'll see what happens in regards to that. But I saw the headline last night that Anthony Edwards exits Wolves win with hamstring tightness. So obviously don't want to see that this early in the season. You don't want to see any of these injuries, but something to keep in mind there. The only other thing that I'm going to mention from an NBA perspective, Tyronn Lue did talk a little bit about Tyronn Lue, the coach of the Clippers, talked a little bit about Chauncey Billups. Here's what he said. And for all those, Lakers are obviously taking on the Portland Trailblazers tonight. He said that it's hard to process. You hate to see him go through something like this along with his 3 girls who are my goddaughters and his wife. I believe in Chauncey's character. I know who he is as a person. I've been with him since I was 17 years old. So it's just hard to see something like this happen. He has my love and support always. So hearing from a coach talking about, a friend of Chauncey Billups talking specifically about, obviously Chauncey Billups, that's Tyronn Lue giving his opinion, his perspective, really not his opinion, but just his support for one of his buddies. So we'll see what eventually happens. The only other thing I have in the NBA, I'm going to get into the weekend recap. I got to just point out here. And like I said, I don't think I'm late to the Wemby party, but I'm a little late. Wemby has played 3 games this year. And you guys heard me and Keith talking a little bit about Wembanyama. What is this guy? What is he? I think the thing that we can all go back to, by the way, Spurs are 3-0 as well. So they're also playing some good ball at the same time. But when you look at this squad, or when you look at Victor Wembanyama, we know we've never seen anything like this. So anything he does, we're like, what the F? How is that possible? Here's Wemby's first 3 games this season. Okay. A 40-15 to start the year against Dallas. A 29, 11, and 9. 29 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 blocked shots. 9 of them. By the way, in 3 games, he has 18 block shots. So he's averaging 6 block shots a game so far this season. And then yesterday they played the Nets. 31 points, 14 rebounds, 6 blocks, and 3 steals. What is this guy? I mean, incredible stats to start the year. When do they play the Lakers? I mean, buy your tickets for that game. When's the first game Lakers and the Spurs play each other? Not until... Oh, no, they got one coming up. November 5th. They got one coming up here in the next... Yeah, not this week. Mid next week, it's a home game. If you're in SoCal, go get your tickets to go see Victor Wembanyama next week against the Los Angeles Lakers. That's incredible. So I had to read some of those stats. He's already averaging 6 freaking blocks a game. I know we're only 3 games in. I get it. But my God, what is this guy doing? All right, quick weekend recap here, and then we're going to get out of here. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Do me a favor as well, please. If you guys don't mind, please consider being a member. It's $3 a month. You could just hit join, whether you're on the website here or you're on your phone, however you're getting this. We greatly appreciate it. What day am I going to do content exclusively for our members? I'll do Thursday. Thursday's a good day to do it because we got right now a lot of things are kind of doubling up. So Thursday I'll do some content just for members. Looking forward to doing that. Okay, weekend recap just real quick. World Series. We'll start off with the World Series. Do I start off with the World Series? Yeah, let's start off with the World Series. Dodgers and the Toronto Blue Jays coming up tonight. So series back to LA. Series tied 1 apiece. You know what's funny about this series? I'm kind of trying to think about this. So Toronto tied 1-1 going back to LA. I think they feel pretty good about that. Maybe a little less just because they won the first game and, obviously some momentum going into game 2. It was 1-1 in the 6th or 7th inning until the Dodgers kind of opened up that game. Will Smith with a solo, Max Muncy with a solo. I always feel like it's just a matter of time for the Dodgers. If you're the Dodgers, you feel good too. You're going back to LA. It's 1-1. You take home field advantage. But I almost feel like both teams are kind of okay with this. The Dodgers have been so dominant. If they won the first 2 games, everybody would be like, yeah, well, what? It's the Dodgers. The fact that Toronto got one, then I think that they still obviously feel like, hey, we're right in the thick of it, where we need to be. I think for me, tonight's game, and I know it's going to kind of sound funny here, but if Toronto has a legitimate chance of winning the World Series, I think they got to win tonight. I think they have to be the ones that continue to put a little bit of pressure on the Dodgers. The one thing the Dodgers have not had this entire postseason, they really haven't had any pressure. They beat Cincinnati right out the gate, won the first 2 games. They took the first 2 in Philadelphia, and every close game went the Dodgers' way. The Brewers gave them nothing, and even in game 1, if the game was close, the Dodgers won every close game that's been there, and there's never really been any pressure on the Dodgers. If the Toronto Blue Jays found a way to win tonight in LA and go up 2-1, some pressure on the Dodgers. It'd be the first time that they feel any pressure. And I think the more dangerous a team is, the teams that are just wildly talented are expected to win. The less pressure they have, the more they're probably going to smash you. The more likely they're probably going to smash you. The more pressure that they have, it might get a little tight. And anything can happen in baseball. But I do think if Toronto's got a shot in this series, they got to win tonight. If they go down 2-1 and the Dodgers have won 2 in a row, and all of a sudden that momentum starts churning, and tomorrow night it's Shohei Ohtani a chance to give you a 3-1 lead, that's you're not coming back from that. So we'll see what happens tonight, but it is Max Scherzer versus Tyler Glass now. Scherzer, how about Scherzer still in the playoffs making it happen? So Max Scherzer representing the Blue Jays and Glass now representing the Dodgers. Couple quick things just around the NFL. I'm not going to spend too much time on the NFL, to be honest with you. I'm just going to I was looking at the top of the standings this morning. The Colts are leading the AFC at 7-1. The New England Patriots have won 5 in a row and they're 6-2. The Denver Broncos have won 5 in a row and are 6-2. The top 3 teams in the AFC are the Colts, the Patriots, and the Broncos. What is this? Early 2000s? That's crazy to see that. That's crazy to see. I'm just thinking Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, and I don't know. That's wild to see that, but shows you a little bit of some of the teams that are out in front. Buffalo not too far behind. They're 5-2 as well, but just wild to see that. Chiefs 4-3. So some of the teams that we're accustomed to seeing right at the top of the AFC, not at the top of the AFC. Baltimore, we know some of their injuries. They're 2-5 with Lamar Jackson out. And then in the NFC, Green Bay is 5-1-1. They're on top. Philly is 6-2. Tampa 6-2. Seattle's 5-2. Detroit's 5-2, and the Rams are 5-2. So that's some of the top there in the NFC. So wide open. It seems like if there's a year where there's a handful of teams that can win, no real powerhouse. We'll see what happens as the season progresses, but interesting to see there. And then the last thing I'm just going to point out in college football. First off, top 5 in college: Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M. Watch that Texas A&M game. They're freaking impressive. Blowout LSU on the road. They're now 8-0. Alabama 7-1. Georgia, the number 5 seed, at 6-1. Oregon and Ole Miss. Ole Miss had an impressive win as well. So fun watching college football right now. Maybe my Aztecs. My Aztecs are 6-1 now. Granted, I don't think you can kind of get in there, being in the Mountain West Conference, but they're making a little bit of noise as well. All right, that's what we got for our weekend recap. Of course, presented by the Wallace firm. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. Let's take a look at a couple of the comments, and then we are going to get out of here. So thank you all for hanging out twice in the span of about 8 hours. Let's see here. I will also refrain from Ayton slander for one game after last night's performance. He was really good last night. Guys, if I've said anything, I always talk about how, can I just feel your presence? And certainly felt his presence. Felt his presence the last couple of games. You're right about this. LSU fired Brian Kelly. Isn't his buyout $50+ million? How much money are they making in college? My God, how much money are they making in college? I mean, they fire a coach. Oh, this is the one. Wrote him a $54 million check to leave. We are in the wrong business, guys. And if they're giving him 54 to leave, imagine how much money they're making. All right, let's see what else we got here. Colts are fun to watch. I haven't got a chance to watch, so I'd be curious to see one of their games. Make adjustments tonight. Get a win in LA. Statement win. Kind of like the Pacers Thunder situation. Yeah, I'm not. I think people are trying to tell me that. I think people are trying to say that, I'm disrespecting the Blazers. And that, guys, they just literally lost their head coach after game 1 of the regular season. Lakers are coming off 2 really good wins, and obviously what they were able to do last night. So, yeah, I do expect them to beat the Portland Trail Blazers tonight. But maybe because I do expect it, maybe then they get punched in the mouth, and that isn't the case. Even if Edwards doesn't play, we're talking about Wednesday, Naz Reid always seems to play well against us. Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. That's why I'm looking at these, this game tonight. grab this one, you go 3-1, and then kind of it's house money for the 2 road games without, obviously without Luka Doncic in that game. All right, my people, I think we're all set. I think we're good for the day. I think we did our job. $1.05 in here. All right, thank you again to Keith Smith for joining the show. Thank you again to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm being a part of the show. I really appreciate everybody hanging out and being here last night, being here tonight, or being here this morning, and then back on tonight as well. So Lakers got a late game. 7:30 p.m. tip-off tonight, which means I'm going to do the post game basically at 3 a.m., and then I'm going to sleep for 45 minutes. I'm going to come back and do the show with you guys again in the morning. Looking forward to it, everybody. Thank you very much. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed. I will see everybody tomorrow morning, or I'm sorry, tonight. HH for the super. Thank you very much. 10 spot there. Thank you for all the supers. Thank you for all the members. I will see you guys tonight after the Lakers host the Portland Trail Blazers.